y'all, and welcome to today's video. I have pulled some palettes from my collection. I shopped my stash and we are going to look at these palettes, old palettes, new palettes, and I'm gonna let you know, would I repurchase these palettes? If these palettes launched today or if these palettes were stolen from me, would I repurchase them? This is gonna be a good time. I'm excited about it. Let's jump into it. So I have done this video concept quite a few times on my channel, so definitely check out my other videos if you like today's. I got this idea from Dolly Mama Beauty, who will of course be linked in the description box. But let's just jump right into it. I pulled 10 palettes. Let's talk about first the Natasha Denona Mini Pastel palette. I think this is such a cute palette, and when I saw people review it, I felt like people were like me, they really liked it. They thought this was a cute addition. And there were people who were like, this color story doesn't make sense. So I feel like it was kind of split down the middle. You like it or you didn't like it. But I like this. If I didn't have this in my collection, I would repurchase it. If somebody stole this today, I would go on to Sephora and Natasha Denona, wherever, and I would buy it again. I think this is really cute. I believe it was $27. You get one matte shade, one duochrome shade, and 3 really pretty shimmers. I think this little palette is a perfect complement to the larger pastel palette from Natasha Denona that I also love. It's in this cute little size. I like her mini palettes. I think they're great, not just on their own, but also as companion palettes mixed in, and overall, just really, really cute. I do have a video on this palette if you want to see me testing it, swatching it, all of that. I think I have videos on most of these palettes, not all though, so we'll talk about that as we go. Okay. Urban Decay Naked Smiley. This one is the Mucho Happy palette. Now, first of all, the packaging is adorable, and Urban Decay actually sent me this little palette. Okay, so this is what it is. I did do a video on this palette, and I think this is nice quality. I think it was easy to blend. It's a typical nice mainstream formula. Easy to blend, easy to work with, but nothing that super duper wowed me about this palette. For me, for how I like to do my makeup, I like neutral, I like color, but a lot of times I like in palettes for there to be some contrast, you know, light to dark, different textures, things like that. And in this palette, we do have 3 matte shades. We have this shade right here, Partay, that I saw some people call a duochrome, and I like kind of a very subtle one maybe. We have 2 shimmers too, and for me there's just not enough depth in this palette. I think we could have traded maybe this kind of more copper shimmer right here for like a navy blue or a black or even a deep charcoal. If you didn't want to go like colorful and do a navy, you could do a charcoal. Just something deep, I think, would have made this palette a lot more versatile, just because we do have 3 light mattes and no like mid-tone to deep matte, and then the shimmers are all mid-tone as well. So I would have just liked to see maybe a little more contrast in this one. If somebody stole this palette from me right now, I wouldn't sweat it. I definitely would not go. I don't want to even say like, I don't think I would buy it. No, I wouldn't. I would make no plans to purchase this. Not that I think it's a bad palette, and I'm not like getting rid of it right now. This video isn't like me getting rid of makeup. I want to keep it. Like, I'm not like getting rid of it, but I just wouldn't like run out to buy it right now. 100%, no doubt about it, love this Star Wars Sith Seduction palette from Pat McGrath. This one, so good. I said in my video with this one how much I love the color selection here, and I stand by that. Make a beautiful all shimmer, all sparkle look is so easy to do with this palette because it has those things that I talked about I like, especially in a small palette. You have contrast. We have light, bright shade. We have more mid-tone shades right here, and then we have 2 deep shades. The sparkle level in this shade right here, not a pressed glitter, but the sparkle in this deep dark like black blue, phenomenal. This whole palette was worth the purchase for me just for this shade, but the fact that the other shades are great is like a cherry on top. But this shade right here, love. I think the packaging is super cute on this. I like the little Darth Vader on the front. I love the selection. I love the quality. So happy I bought this one. And if somebody stole it, I would fight them before they could get to my front door and out of my makeup room with this palette. Okay, I really like this Snow White Dreams Come True palette from ColourPop. I think they did something with this palette. Let me tell you, I bought this palette because it's Snow White. I like ColourPop. I love the Snow White theme. I loved like the packaging. I thought it was very like reminiscent of my childhood. It's the Snow White from the movies. We've got the castle in the background, very cute. We've got the birds holding the banner, and I'm like, I want that. But had it not been Snow White, I probably wouldn't have bought this palette, just because I don't feel like the color story was like super interesting when I saw it online. I'm like, oh, it's very pretty. But if it wasn't Snow White, if it was just regular ColourPop packaging without the collaboration, I probably would not have purchased this palette. Now that I have tested it, tried it, created some looks, played with it, if this wasn't Snow White in the generic packaging, yes, I would buy it. Like, knowing what I know now, because I think the quality of these ColourPop shadows really good, and I really like when I'm using this palette, the looks that I create. I feel like it's very easy to use this palette. I have fun with it. So the fact that it's Snow White, I love, but if you took this from my collection and I could only get this in plain packaging, I would buy it again because I like it. I think this is neutrals in a elevated way while also still having some color. So we do have the matte black with all the sparkle. I love a matte shade that has sparkle in it. I think that's so beautiful. And this black has blue and I think silvery sparkles in here. We have another of the same formula right here in this more like brown mauve-y tone right here. But we have the black for Snow White's hair. I kind of like that they put the sparkle into it just to give like the shine maybe of her hair, you know. We have the blue, the red, and the yellow of her dress, which I love. We have the white for her dress. And then the neutrals are peachy pink leaning, which I like. Instead of just like the traditional brown neutrals, they have this peachy pink lean to them that I think is really fun. So we have this warm reddish brown down here, this pinky peach matte, a more peachy matte over here, this kind of warm peachy vanilla shade. We have this yellow to pink kind of super shock formula. Just overall good quality, and I really like the color selection too, way more than I thought I would. Okay, I wanted to pull an old palette and talk about Soft Glam from ABH. Now, ABH has put out a few palettes last year in new format, and I really like the formula of those shadows. I think they're so nice. I really enjoyed them. This palette, I don't think I have a video on. I do not think I have a video on this palette because it's old. If this palette launched today, no, I would not pick this one up. I loved this one at the time though, and I'm not planning to get rid of it because right now I want to keep it. It brings me memories. For me, I don't have to use every single item in my collection to get joy from it. When I see this in my collection, when I'm looking at my things, I like seeing this because it brings back memories of a time when I used it, just different things like that. I would not repurchase this if this launched today or if it was taken from me because I feel like eyeshadow formulas have come a long way, even though this isn't a bad palette. I'm not saying it's a bad palette. If you have it, love it, use it, that's wonderful. But I have other neutrals in my palette that I'm in my collection that I'm reaching for more. I feel like when I go for neutral looks now, I really want special formulas, maybe some reflex in the shimmers. And while this palette is still beautiful, I do feel like I have palettes that have better quality. I bought this palette when it first launched. When was that? Years ago. It's not expired, nothing like that. I'm not saying that. I'm sure it still performs beautifully. I just would reach for other palettes when I'm doing a neutral look, especially if I was doing like a warm neutral look that this palette would produce. So no, I wouldn't repurchase this one, but it is staying in my collection, of course. Okay, let's talk about the Mattes palette from Sugar Drizzle. This was sent to me from Sugar Drizzle, and I want to say, so this is an all matte palette. I'm so happy Sugar Drizzle sent me this palette because had it launched, I don't think I would have bought this. I am a shimmer sparkle type of girl. Sugar Drizzle does a lot of multi-chrome, duochrome shimmer palettes, and I love them for that reason. So when the Mattes palette launched, I really think this is pretty. You got all the purples you could ever want. You have a couple pops of like blue, teal shades, but knowing myself, I probably wouldn't have bought an all matte palette. But now that I have it and I have used it and I have seen for myself how easy these mattes are to work with, how beautiful they are, how they look when they're all like swatched out. I can see the like variations in the purple. I would buy it again. So had I never tried it, it launched, I probably would have passed on it. I would have been like, oh, I don't need an all matte palette, you know, pass. But now, if a makeup maniac came in here and took this palette from me, I would be on the Sugar Drizzle site buying it because these purples are so good. You get a lot of purple shades in here. So if you don't like purple, like, listen, pass this by. But I did do a video, and I've used this in several videos since as a companion palette, mixing this with my special duochromes, multi-chromes, different shades. I think the quality of these purples and teals so good. Every single shade performs beautifully on the eyes. Pigmented, easy to blend, don't have to work to get the color down, don't have to work to get it blended in. Beautiful. So yes, I would repurchase this, or I would purchase it, whatever. If somebody took it, I need it. Okay, the palette actually that I'm wearing today, I gave this palette a little bit of grief, and let me just judge myself. This is the BPerfect Cosmetics Carnival Interstellar palette. So this palette launched last year. Yes, last year. I want to say around October, November. And this was the 5th collaboration that BPerfect and Stacey Marie did together, and I have all 5. I always buy these palettes. So when I saw this palette, I'm like, oh my gosh, why are they doing another rainbow palette? But I'm like, I'm gonna buy it because BPerfect and Stacey Marie, every rainbow palette I have from them, the quality is there. Like, it's good. It's pigmented, easy to work with, beautiful. Like, they do really good things together. So I'm like, you know what? I'm judging them for coming out with another rainbow palette, but I'm also judging myself because I'm buying it. I did do a video on this palette, and the quality, so good. So good. It's exactly what I expect when BPerfect and Stacey Marie team up. And there's actually some really glittery formulas in here. I don't know if those are technically eye safe, probably not. Yeah, 4 Luxe Foiled Glitter Shimmers, which is what I have on today. It's this shade right here, and then I'm wearing several of the mattes. This one, in this range, you know. But this, what did they call it again? Foiled Glitter Shimmers, really pretty. I'm not telling you to use glitter on your eyes. I'm not telling you to do that. Listen, I'm not your mom. You do what you do. You do you. I'm not telling you what to do. I use this on my eye. I will say that, and I speak for nobody but myself. Listen, I love that we have these 3 columns of grays. I love that. And then I love that we have the rainbow. Now listen, I judge myself. I know I did not need this palette, but it's so good. And if somebody took this palette from me, I would buy it again. I would be on Beauty Baby, Perfect, whatever. I would be buying this palette. If This year, 2023, we get BPerfect Stacey Marie Rainbow Palette number 6. Judge me, but I'm buying it. Okay, this is one that I would not buy, but I love it for sentimental reasons. This is Kylie's Diary. This was one of the first palettes to launch from Kylie Cosmetics. It was for a Valentine's Day collection when the brand was pretty new, and I think it's so cute. I think it's so cute still. Now, these shadows aren't the most pigmented. You definitely have to layer them, build them up, you know, put a couple layers of this, put a couple layers of this if that's what you want to see. The shimmers are pretty, but they're kind of like smooth, standard, basic type of shimmers. Nothing uniquely special. The blushes I loved, but again, I'm keeping it in my collection. This isn't about decluttering because it has memories. But if this palette launched from Kylie now, no. The quality's not keeping up to standards with some of the other brands. I don't think I have any other eyeshadow palettes from Kylie. I hope I'm right on that, but maybe I'm wrong. But like at the time, this was nice, but eyeshadow formulas have come a long way since then. So if somebody stole that, I would be kind of bummed. I would be like, oh, but I wouldn't like shed a tear and I wouldn't be like hunting it down. Okay, so in the past, I'm pretty sure I've kept these to all eyeshadow palettes, but today I was like, why don't I pull in a couple of face palettes? So we did, I think, 8 eyeshadow palettes, right? So now we're gonna do 2 face palettes. Okay, this is a newer one. This is Blend Bunny Bare Cheeks face palette. Now, Blend Bunny sent me this. Had they not sent it to me, I would have bought it and I would not regret it. No, I wouldn't. I would not regret it whatsoever because it's beautiful. Blend Bunny, they really don't miss. They put out great products. Some I like more than others, but overall, they put out great products. And I really like both of the blush palettes, but I only pulled one for this video. So I'm actually wearing these 2 shades today, Love Me and Stripped. Beautiful formula, beautiful packaging. I think so many people would get a lot of use out of this. Had Blend Bunny not sent me this palette, I would have purchased it myself. If somebody stole this from me, I would buy it. If Blend Bunny releases blush palettes in the future, I will buy it. I just think it's fun. I love blush palettes because it's just so fun for me. Really face palettes in general. Especially if it's like all blushes, all highlighters. I like because it's so fun to me to custom create my shade, which of course you can do with singles, but it's just so convenient to have one palette, pop it open, and just pick up whatever shade I want and custom create my color. And the last face palette I pulled was the Greek Goddess Highlighter Palette from Lunar Beauty. Now, this palette has been discontinued and I'm so glad I bought this one. I'm so glad I bought this one. Not only does it have Medusa on the front looking amazing, but the inside is these beautiful highlighters. Listen, I've had this palette for years. I use this palette and love it, and it almost looks new because the pans are so big and a little bit of product goes a long way. I have this on the face today. It's just so easy, effortless. Again, custom create a shade. When I pull this out, I usually tap into a couple of different shades. I think it's pretty. I love that there's a pinky toned highlighter in here and 2 more bronzy highlighters. I like that there's a very light vanilla shade and 2 more kind of like light to mid-tone highlighters. I think this palette's very versatile. And I really hope we see more highlighters from Lunar Beauty going forward. I really like this palette. This one isn't available anymore. So if somebody stole this from me, it would be a fight. Tears would be shed. It would be a thing, you know? But if this were available now, if Lunar Beauty launched this today, of course I would buy it. I think it's incredibly beautiful. Now, I basically already told you the things that are on my face, but I'm also wearing a couple of other things from Blend Bunny. This is Doll Face, their lip duo, and then I put on Love Bite lip oil on top of my lips. I'm wearing my Melt Cosmetics Leo lashes, I think, Leo lashes. Thank you so much for watching. Do you want me to keep doing videos like this? I think I've done 3 or 4 now where I've just shopped my stash, pulled palettes, almost like follow-up reviews. Some of these palettes years later, like, I feel like it's a fun way to talk about palettes, let you know what I think, and talk about palettes that were gifted to me. Like, would I have bought these? Would I buy these now? I think it's kind of fun, but I always love to hear from y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day. Please do subscribe, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye!